design tutorial series today, we're going to add a user to our Joomla website. So what I'm going to do is just bring up our website. If you're hosted with mode9design.com, you'll know that your website administrator panel is accessed by typing the word administrator at the end of your domain name and pressing enter. And we're just going to pop into the login page. Just going to type that in here and bring us to our Joomla control panel. Now, adding a user is quite easy. You have two options. You can use the user manager add new user option from the menu, or you can simply use the quick icons here from the control panel, which is what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to load this up, and these are the current users that we have. To add a new user, I'm going to click on new, and then we need to make some decisions. So the first field is asking for the name of your user. Depending on your policy, I would put in the full name of the customer or the staff member. So today I'm going to put the name test user, and that will be what appears at the top of the screen. The login name is what I put down to be their staff number. So I'm going to put my staff number in here, and the password, I'm going to make myself up a new one, and remember the safe password conventions, which is one uppercase, one lowercase, one big letter, one small letter, and one number. So I've got one here that fits those rules. And of course you've got the email. And I'm going to type in, actually, because my email's already registered, I need to type in a different one. So I'll type in my recording email, djneats@gmail.com. This is pre-populated with today's date, last visit, and last reset date. That's relevant because that's more for maintaining the user status. So we'll skip those. This is how many times the password's been reset. I'm going to skip that as well. And this one here, this field is asking if you want this particular user to receive system emails. In general, it's no, unless you're an administrator and you deal with inquiries. So an example of where this would be handy is if a user sends through an email to the administrator and you want that person to receive it, click yes. In this case, no. This next field, block this user, deals with, well, managing users, essentially. So if your site is a paid for access and your customer falls behind in payments, you might want to turn them off here. And this allows them to rectify the problem and for you to simply unblock them. You just change that to a no. It's also used if you have somebody going on and spamming, say joining your site and using it to post information about other people's products and services. You don't want that to happen, so block them. In this bit here, this talks about the groups that your user will belong to. Remembering with Joomla, permission in terms of what you can and cannot do is around user groups. So a public user group is read only. They can come on and they can consume what you're providing, partake in the surveys if you allow them to, read your articles, look at your pictures, photos, images, and those sorts of things. That's your default profile. You can change the parameters of that user group, but essentially that's what public means. As you go through there, they're pretty self-explanatory. In general, you only have 3 user types that you would most likely use to manage your site. That's public, registered, and super users. So a registered user is somebody that can come along and view, well, perhaps sensitive content. So for example, if you offer a subscription-based service where they pay to come onto your site and look at what you're writing, if you give access to clients to view particular information, say as an accountant, you would put their accounts up here on your site. You don't want other people to see it, just them. That's when you use the registered one. What's the most common use of a registered user? A super user can do anything and everything, which is everything from writing, editing, deleting, and adding and changing users. You only really, for a site, have 2 or 3 super users, and that just makes sure content is managed properly. You might have people that want to add content, but you've got to manage them. So in this instance, what you would probably do is add them as a registered user with author, editor, and publisher functions, so they can go and submit articles or content updates, your news page, provide more information about a product description. They can write it, they can edit the content, say if you change a price for a product, and then they can republish it. So that means these people here, the general public that are in that group, can see the new information. When you're adding a super user, you tick all the boxes. And what's important about this is you want to be able to see how other people are using your site. So as a super user, you can often make some changes in the back end and not see how they would appear for everybody because you don't have the same access. So it's always good to make sure that you get the same view. So if you've got one of your team having problems with things and they can't figure out how to fix it, by having access to all those groups you can actually replicate the error and then get it fixed a little bit quicker. On the right hand side of the screen, there's your basic settings. Now I tend not to plan here. These are pretty much not required to be changed unless you've got something pretty special going on. I'll go over them briefly though. The backend template style, well, that's allowing you to change sort of which template that you've got going on for this user. I don't change it because I want a consistent look to the and feel to the site. Where I might change it is if I wanted to give the registered users or perhaps the administrators a very distinct look, so that they know that once they're logged in they are actually in edit mode. And one of the reasons why I use this is to prevent staff making mistakes to parts of our page by accidentally writing things, not realising whereabouts they're in the site. So that's one benefit, but as I said, for general business it wouldn't make much sense to change that. The backend language, well, I speak English and so do many other people, so that's the preferred option. If you have a multilingual site or you are not English as a first language speaker, you can then install the language packs and change your backend language. And that's really actually quite a good important point if you've, say for example, got an English site but you may speak French and you would be just a little bit more familiar in that preferred language, then you might change it to French, and basically it just changes all these labels. Doesn't impact the front end because here's the front end here, there's the language choice. So English or French English or however you want to use it. This is the editor that you use for looking after the content in your articles. I use default. That's what I know, that's what I like, and I don't find any difficulty in that. So again, unless you have a specific need, for example using a component or a plugin that requires you to use specifically one of these, I recommend that you leave it as is. Here, there's your help site. If you've included like a support ticket forum or some sort of plugin, or you have an FAQ that you want people to go to, you can edit it here, and you can also edit your time zone. So if you've got a time sensitive module in there, maybe like a plugin, say for a calendar, that it runs off the right time zone that you are in, so you don't get people calling you at 8 in the morning, in the UK, when you're based over here in Australia, and you're about 9-10 hours, in front. So that's basically the gist of adding a new user. The process technically is very, very simple. I would say here the most concern that you would have is around thinking about how your user is going to use the site and what options they need in terms of access here, and in terms of support there, and with your editing there, and your languages. As I said, these are very minor parts of your decision, but it is important that when you add the user, you give them the required level of access that they need to do their job, perform the function that they wish to do. Otherwise, it causes problems. So I'm just going to go ahead and save and close that, and you'll see here in the list, there's your test user. You simply log out, log back in, double check that it's working, and that's fine. So thank you for watching this tutorial. That's the end. If you need more advice on adding a user to your Joomla backend or just some Joomla questions in general, send me an email. That's anita@mo9design.com, or feel free to visit our website, and that's below, mo9design.com.